everybody, it's Adam from ihaveyousee.com. Hope you're getting excited to listen to Stephanie. She's got excellent success with how she's treating her colitis. Here we go. Hello. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, right? Whatever. Everybody, this is Stephanie here from Chicago. And my name is Adam. Stephanie, how are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good.
Thank you so much for joining. I'm really happy that you have a couple moments. I know you're international woman of mystery, running back and forth. But I really wanted to talk to you with the goal of other people getting an idea for what someone like yourself is doing to control your colitis. So I guess just a simple question is, how did you get involved with ulcerative colitis in the first place? How did that go about?
About 4 years ago, I started to get really sick, and I had a lot of diarrhea, bloody diarrhea, and I very quickly lost a lot of weight. And I went to a couple doctors, and they just told me to take medicine for diarrhea and stuff. And only after I went to a specialist did they finally give me a colonoscopy and tell me that I had ulcerative colitis.
Wow. So how long was the symptoms to diagnosis period for you?
It was about 4 months.
Wow. Wow.
And even after that, I think I didn't really fully understand that I had ulcerative colitis. I don't think it really hit me. So even a while after that, I was still, the doctor was giving me medicine and things, but I don't think it really hit me that I had ulcerative colitis. So.
Gotcha. Well, my situation was kind of similar, although the symptoms for me went on for couple of years, and it's hard for me even to figure out how many years that was, because it was really a slow progression of symptoms until I got to the point where my wife was like, what's going on? Why are you so long in the bathroom so many times a day?
Right.
I mean, she knew something was up, right?
Yeah.
And so I said, well, here's the deal. And then I threw in that there's some bleeding going on. And I'm sure I minimized what the reality was to her. And that's when it was like, okay, yeah. When that stuff's happening, we go to the hospital. We go to the doctor. We don't. That's not normal here.
Yeah.
But wow. So after you got diagnosed then, what was, how did you get to the point where Remicade got involved? What was the progression there for you?
So the first doctor that I had when I first got diagnosed, he put me on steroids for a couple of months. And I felt like that doctor didn't really listen to me. He wasn't really, receptive to hearing to what I had to say. And I think he kind of just put me on steroids just to, kind of quiet me down. And after that, I changed doctors because I didn't like him. And I also moved at that time. So I changed doctors. And when I told her I had been on the steroids for a while, she was very upset. She said that was totally not what you should be, you shouldn't be on that for a long period of time. It's really bad for you. And so she had to put me on them to wean me off of them. Gotcha. And then I was just on Pentessa for a while, and I was okay for a bit. And then after about 2 years of being on Pentessa, I was hospitalized. I started to get really sick very quickly. Within a month, I got very sick, and then I was hospitalized.
So Stephanie's feeling great. Things are going
it was fantastic. And then I think it was I don't know if it was the summer heat, and maybe I was eating things I shouldn't have been eating and things. I didn't fully control my eating, which I think is really important now, but looking back, I wasn't at the time. And so, I got very sick very quickly. I was really dehydrated, and so I went to the doctor. She looked at me, and right away she was like, you're not going home. So I was in the hospital for about a week, and then after that, she put me on azathiopprine, and I was on that for about a year until I started to get sick again. But this time I knew, because I remembered from last time what it was like when I started getting sick again. Gotcha. So I went to the hospital sooner, and she said, okay, well, now that you've done azathiopprine, now your next step would be Humira or Remicade. So she gave me the choice. So.
Gotcha. So azathiopprine.
Yes.
Is that the same as azathioprine?
Oh, maybe I'm just saying it.
I don't know. This might be a Chicago thing. I'm not sure, right? I don't really know.
How do you say it?
Well, I say azathioprine,
Oh,
but
I say azathioprine.
I kind of like how you say it better.
Oh, I have no idea.
All right. So you're at the point where it's, okay, Stephanie, Humira or Remicade? What do you do in that situation as someone who's wanting to get better, and you've got these two things, which, did you know anything about either of them before? Had you looked into them at all previously?
No, I didn't know anything about them. So, I was searching on the internet. I had looked at your website, trying to read some things about it, but it was all a lot of very scary information too. Like, if you do it, you are going to be on it for a very long time. And my doctor was like, it's chemotherapy. And you hear that and you're like, oh my God.
Whoa!
And, yeah. So I was terrified. And as I told you before, I don't live in America, so I'm away from all my family. So it's a very scary situation. Can't find, you kind of just want like a friend to sit down with you and talk to you about it, but
Sure.
It's like the only information that you can find is stuff on the internet,
Sure.
which is helpful, but
Be better if a friend who was talking to you.
Exactly, yeah.
Tell you what's up.
Yeah.
So how did you come to a decision?
So I chose Remicade because Humira, you have to give it to yourself. And I had talked to other people I knew who had diabetes, who give themselves shots and things like that. And they all kind of said, like, you get over it. You get over, it doesn't become difficult. It gets so much easier. But for me, I was more comfortable having to go to the hospital. And even though you have to go to the hospital more often than if you did the shots, or did the Humira, excuse me.
Sure.
I felt more comfortable going to see my doctor and getting it done at the hospital. Because if you do it at home too and you have a bad reaction, I live alone. My neighbors don't speak English, so I felt like that would be a scary situation for me.
That could be tough.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Wow.
So that's why I did the Remicade.
Excellent. So, Stephanie, your first day showing up, do they have an infusion center type of place, or is it, how did it go down? What was
first,
it like?
First shoot, it was like when I decided to do it from when I first did it, there was like a month in between, because you have to make sure all of your vaccines and everything like that are up to date, because once you start Remicade, you can't get live vaccines, and I don't know if you can get other vaccines because it suppresses your immune system so much. So
Gotcha.
I remember I did like some blood tests, and I had to get some vaccines and things like that and make sure that the vaccines took and everything before I could start the Remicade. So then the very first Remicade, they want you to stay in the hospital overnight in case you have a bad reaction. And so I remember I went to see the doctor first, and they take your weight because they do Remicade by how much you weigh.
Sure.
So they have to weigh you, and then I kind of just like checked into the hospital and hung out until the Remicade was ready, and then they administered it.
Was
and
there
then
somebody mixing it up in the corner type of thing?
I imagine.
This is for Stephanie.
I think so, because they have to. She said it's a powder and they have to mix it. So I think there is somebody like mixing it or something to put it in the IV bag.
Sure.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So then somebody comes, and first they give you a saline drip. I think just to put the needle in and like make sure it's secure.
Sure.
And then they switch to the Remicade. The Remicade it usually takes like between an hour and 2 hours to drip through. And then they put another saline bag in, and then I just spent the night to make sure that I was okay.
Everything was good for you.
And that was it. I was fine. I had no bad reaction, so that was a very good sign, she said.
So, this is one of the most asked questions regarding Remicade on the website. And it is, do you have any guess what it might be? I'm guessing you probably thought the same question. But the question is, how long does it take before Remicade starts working?